how excited or eager are you to kind of just see this finally go to, the offense kind of take part in a real game against a real opponent?
I think, any football team and season, I think that there's a lot of anticipation for that first game. So certainly there's, maybe a little bit extra here, just getting excited to see these guys. It's been a long time since April and March we were working together, and some of the calls you're talking about way back then are showing up now, and just really cool to see the growth where we're at now. So I'm excited to see those guys get out there and tear it up.
Has much changed at all in terms of like what you envisioned in March or April, and then what you're doing now in terms of adjusting to the personnel you have or any of that kind of stuff?
No, I think I think we did a great job on the front side of us, identifying, think about the different types of, players that you have and who you're really catering the offense to. And so I think the research and the pre-work before you're even with the guys to really dive into that and see the applicable parts of the offense, some of the things you have to melt to the players on your team are some of the most important things. And I thought as a staff, we did a great job of that, and we've been able to continue to build momentum on that throughout this process.
Who is the offense catered
to? Well, first of all, 7. It's got to be around the quarterback. It's always got to start with him. Want to make sure that you're getting the things in that he's good at, and then obviously melt the system to him and have him, melt to us. And I think Geno has done a fantastic job of that. So super excited to see him. And then obviously, your playmakers on the outside. Much like the system we've had for a long, long time. You can go all the way back to Fresno State with Keyshawn Johnson and Damari Scott and guys like that we had that were 95 catches and 1,400 yards, NFL guys that moved on and into Washington and all those kind of things. So I think the personnel matches some of the things that we're trying to do to attack and that we're excited about. And then obviously having 2 playmakers in the backfield that can utilize the run game and get you excited about what we're about to do up front. That's really the secret sauce I think that goes into is when you have guys like that can be game breakers. And I do think that, with the emergence of AJ as a real player, Brady and Noah, that room has been fantastic. Farrow, we're going to hopefully get him back week 1, and he's ready to go. He's been out here working hard, and I think for us, we're just trying to figure out, that room, how they can contribute along with those 3 wide receivers. So really good problem to have, a lot of talent.
You obviously were familiar with Geno somewhat, being in the area and everything else, but having been around him now for a while, what's maybe impressed you the most about his game?
I've said this before, and it's true. It's just he's such a competitor. His story is inspirational. If you don't know the whole thing, I just think about how many guys have cashed it in after, maybe not the perfect start that they were looking to their career, and really just the perseverance that he's had and how he's been able to build, a really special career to this point. And I feel like one of the best things about Geno is he still feels like he has not played his best football yet. And that's exciting to be able to coach a guy like that.
Yep. Any challenge of week 1?
Unique challenge of week 1. I don't know that it's unique. It's kind of the same challenge every year when you're getting out there, just getting the feel for your guys, how they're going to respond in an emotional moment. I think that typically can be one of the things is, there's a difference between obviously preseason games and regular season. So seeing those big moments, I think, is probably the biggest thing, is anticipating how you get through from, point A to point B, because there's always going to be tough spots in the game, and, just how our guys are going to react to that.
Is there something specific you were looking to see out of playing Geno in the starters 5 snaps against Cleveland?
Yeah, I think, honestly, a lot of that was them. They wanted to be out there, and they wanted to be able to get out there and just work the kinks out together with the new calls, new system, be able to talk the same language, and just make sure it didn't, it wasn't the first time they felt those feelings or those thoughts when they got out there against Denver. So I credit those guys to wanting to do that, and feel good about the process.
What did you thought of Sam this summer?
Sam's done a great job. I think he's picked up the offense really well. Very hard worker, which was, as billed coming in, was a guy that was going to be committed to the process, and he certainly is. I think he's a great guy in the room. Just watching him and Geno, I think that's a super important part of it, is the mesh between those guys, that you have to have the preparation piece as a backup to understand I got to be ready to go in and win a football game at the drop of a hat, and at the same time, respect and encourage and support the starter, which those guys have done a fantastic job of.
What about like the presence? We've heard that you really demand presence out of your quarterbacks. How's he
Yeah,
doing in that regard?
I think Sam's gotten a lot better. I think that some of those challenges can happen to college quarterbacks in general, and it can be as simple as using clap cadence and not verbal. And so some of those challenges are early in a player's career, and I think that Sam's not unique to that challenge, and he's certainly been buying into working on that command and presence.
Ryan, how does your background offensive line help you call an entire offense and specifically the run game?
Yeah, I think it just helps you understand the communication between position groups and the opportunities that you have. So I think you would hope that the calculations between what's going on in the box numbers and the leverage that you have in the run game can tie directly to understanding what the next pass concept is that you need to call and how to attack when the box starts to get a little bit heavy. And I mean, I think that that's the way you can see it from both sides, where you understand the complications and the stresses that an offensive line unit would have, but then also like how to manipulate, stacks and bunches and motions to try to help free up receivers for clean releases, to vision help for a quarterback. So I think all those things tie together, but from the O-line standpoint, not just glazing over the details of, how important that group is.
Where do you feel like the line is right now with Connor Williams kind of working his way in and not having really joined the preseason?
Yeah, Connor and Olu have both done a great job. Obviously, still working with Connor to get there, but I think as a unit, they're meshing really good. I think they've done a great job of understanding, how to work together, how to get guys into different spots, and the gel has been, especially the last 10 days, 14 days, has been outstanding.
How hard is doing what Connor Williams has tried to do for a center to not only learn the offense, but the protection calls, the quarterback, the other four linemen, and do it within 12 days or whatever?
I mean, I wish I could give that a answer that is as good as complicated as it is. It is extremely hard, and I don't think people would really understand or really comprehend how tough that is for a guy. And luckily for us, Connor's a vet. He's been to multiple NFL teams. He understands what it takes to get the lingo into how his brain functions. So he's done an outstanding job of, translating first, getting it to what he understands, and then entrenching it in our terminology. So he's just a really bright guy, and I've been really, really impressed with his work ethic.
What type of year are you expecting Ken to have?
K9? Oh, yeah, big year. I'm expecting a lot out of Ken. I think this offense, anytime you have any team, you're looking for the guys that are the best with the ball in their hand, and I don't know if there's anybody better on our team. I think Ken's been top 3 in the NFL on missed tackles forced, and that's one of the stats that we value the most is what can a guy do with the football when there's a tackler right there, and Ken's really elite at that.
In your offense, just how important is that relationship? It's with any offense, but yours with the quarterback. You had it with Michael. Maybe not necessarily agree, but just to see what they're thinking, and for them to see what you're thinking and then come up with the best play.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's imperative, and I think sometimes that's one of the things that gets overlooked early, and that starts back in March and April, right? Building that process and being able to think about what are the things that he feels good about, and then building a relationship close enough, just even as people, where you can speak up and be like, man, I don't know about that play, or you can tell him, I don't know if that's the play for you. And I think that part's imperative, because if you can't have those conversations on a practice field or in a meeting room, it's going to be impossible to do it when the bullets are flying on a Sunday, when it's really hard and things are difficult. So you got to be able to lean back on that relationship. It's imperative. For
you personally, is Sunday a big deal, just being your first NFL game as a coordinator and all that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is. I feel the same way as players, though, to be honest with you. I can remember the first time I was calling a game. It had been a while since I was at Sioux Falls, and I'd coordinated for a while and then moved on, position coach, and then I got back to calling it. My first game back was in the Coliseum when I was at Fresno State, and we were playing USC. And, leading up to the game, I was like, okay, go through, memorize all my calls, do all this. And you get there, the ball's kicked, teed up, and the first 3rd and 4 happens, and you're rolling. I mean, it's very similar for players. They get out there, there's a lot building up to it, but then you just got to do your job, and you got to work into it and play within your bounds.
Are you nervous?
I always get nervous because I want to do great. Absolutely. I play off that.
Has anybody ever given you like a bit of advice about play calling that's really stuck with you and that you found beneficial?
Oh, Has anybody given me advice about play calling? Yes, a lot. From many, many people. That seems to be a certified thing. So absolutely. And then as far as, those things are kind of collected over time, I guess, as far as some of the things that stick with you. Guys that have been around, Jeff Tedford, longtime play caller. Kalen DeBoer, obviously, were guys that I respected as play callers that I certainly took things from. But then you work with other coaches that have called plays and maybe come into your offense that have done it before, like Nick Sheridan I was with for 2 years at UW, and him going back to a position coach allowed him time to reflect on, what he would do and think of as a play caller. But at the same time, when you have somebody in the room with you that's thought about those things and had to make those decisions, it's always good. You can always get great feedback that way.
What challenges has Mike's defense presented for your offense? And
Say it again, I'm sorry.
what challenges has Mike's defense presented for you over the last?
Oh, he's a pain in the ass. Mike's a pain in the ass, man. It is fun though. It's a lot of fun. I think he's extremely creative on challenging quarterbacks and what they're seeing and what they think's happening. He gets his guys to play fast, run to the ball, be technique sound. So not only are they complex and deep in what they do, but I think they're fundamentally sound, which is great for us. It forces us to be the same. So it's been a blast. Pain in the ass, but a lot of fun.
Thank you, Coach.
You bet.